Many believe that art can and should affect change. It can make you stop, look and think. On today's show, we're going to be meeting artists who are fighting for causes that are very dear to them through their artwork. Plus, we hear a word from Mojato and we tell you all that's happening around the country in the world of art. This is Mojato on Art. Ruchin Soni paints murals and the sheer size of his artwork draws people's attention to it. So he decided to draw attention to things that really mattered. We caught up with him as he was painting a wall at a halfway home in New Delhi where children suffering from substance addiction are rehabilitated. Let's take a look.
There's art that finds its way to a corner of a collector's home or hangs in a museum. And then, there's art so big it needs a whole building for a canvas. Here is Ruchin Soni's forte. The artist creates murals and has worked all over the country and world. By nature, these draw our attention, make us marvel. Ruchin has taken this fact and used it for good. Here he is painting a wall in Saket, brightening the space around a plot of land where neighborhood children often meet.
I love making murals because I've studied mural painting from Baroda. I've done my master's in it. And I've always been inspired by Diego Rivera's work.
Ruchin Soni has also taken his talents to halfway home near Delhi Gate, where children with substance addiction are rehabilitated and given shelter, food, and schooling. With the children who live here, he's painting the room where they learn and play.
The room was very little shabby in terms of the colors were peeling off, the things were broken at from certain parts. It was a little depressing at the same time. On the first day we had a brainstorming session where I showed them some images of street art that other artists have done, the work that I have done. I showed them a few videos on street art, and then we did some drawing. I encouraged them to imagine the scale of the walls and think in terms of the scale and do something with that. On the second day in the morning, first thing we did is we discussed all the drawings, like what are the elements that we can actually use from all these drawings on the wall. Based on that discussion, we did the whole thing. Like for example, this particular mural was one of the drawing by a kid, and it was so impressive and so beautiful that we thought, okay, the whole thing has to go as it is on the wall.
The fish painting was first drawn by a 13-year-old boy who stays in halfway home. Several drawings made by the children are being incorporated into the final wall.
When we started painting the whole thing, they all became their whole approach changed. They all started working as a team, they all wanted to do a lot of things, and they were super excited, and they are still very excited. So it is very therapeutic.
Well, this just goes to show that everybody could use a little bit of color in their lives. Now here's artist Shilpa Gupta, whose exhibition in Mumbai looks at how borders are merely a construct, and it forces us to re-examine ideas such as identity and nation. Let's take a look.
My name is Shilpa Gupta. I work with images, sound, video, things that we see around ourselves, objects from everyday life. I'm interested in perception and the way people look at things and define them and then work around these definitions.
Shilpa Gupta is a Mumbai-based artist whose recent artwork has explored the ways that international borders are simply constructs and often full of contradiction. But this isn't quite the history or geography lesson you might expect. Through objects and interviews, she weaves metaphors of the ways that state lines are much younger than the culture that exists on either side.
Borders are part of a larger construct, which is a borderland. And that while at one hand they construct the nation, at the same time they also subvert the nation.
Shilpa Gupta's artwork is on display at Vadera Art Gallery in New Delhi. It's the first time these works have been presented in India.
I'm interested in everyday life, so if you look at the body of work and if you walk through it, the stories, I've collected stories which people have narrated over interviews, over things that have been said, things that haven't been said, things that have been recorded or things that stay unrecorded. So one is not as a projecting a opinion, but one is looking as a bystander and allowing life and allowing things which go by to inform you something about themselves.
Throughout the exhibition are displays where materials from the India-Bangladesh border are reimagined to represent the fuzzy reality of the division.
There's a kind of knowledge, a kind of history, a kind of affiliation we are comfortable with, but then there exists a lot of things that fall outside of it. So one is sort of bringing the things which are probably eliminated or not looked upon or one is not comfortable with to sort of slip into these spaces. And what you have inside is, say, a Dhakai sari which has been shredded, or you have bone china that has been crushed, or you have fog which is sort of disembodied. And why are they treated like this?
Within the confines of the gallery space, Shilpa Gupta's art demonstrates the way that life here is often spent dancing on the knife edge of the familiar and the foreign.